We hope you're loving Glasgow Business Stories, so if you are, please do us a favour and subscribe. New episodes drop every 2 weeks, and we want you to hear all the wonderful stories from the businesses here in Glasgow, so please subscribe now. Dawn, great to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So what I'd like to do is just ask you a bit about your business. Give us a snapshot of who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Dawn McFarlane. I have two businesses. One is Scotia Homecare Solutions, where we provide care at home services across 5 council areas. And my newest business is Scotia Training Academy, where we're trying to build a centre for excellence around care training and other sector training as well.
Okay, great. So we'll get a bit into your business in a minute. So I'm interested though in finding out what led you to where you are just now. So go back as long as you want.
Oh, goodness. Right. So I always wanted to have my own business. And I kind of thought it would probably be within the recruitment field because that was something I really enjoyed. And I was in a position where I could start a new company. I seen a bit of a gap in the market, and I started Scotia Homecare Solutions, which was our agency providing care staff into care homes and also chefs, because chefs is a pretty important position within care homes that I think a lot of people forget about. And that was an area that we really excelled in. So that was the start of my journey into entrepreneurship, if you want to call it that.
And so Healthcare Solutions, that's now transformed, or is that transformed into the training agency?
Yes,
itself?
That's transformed into the training agency. So where I started, I think what I've been relatively good at recognising is moving my business through, not necessarily through design but more through default, if that makes sense. Yep. Because after COVID, and we got through COVID reasonably well, after the initial shock and panic, we managed to come through, and during that time it gave me the time to actually look at starting up the home care service.
Yep.
And that was when that was born. So as soon as we came back from COVID, the home care started, yes.
So that's only been going since 2021?
2021, yes.
Okay.
Trading for 4 years,
Yep.
although it was registered a little bit earlier. And we now have about 50 staff.
Okay.
And it's doing very well, yes. Thoroughly enjoy it.
Fantastic.
Great.
And is that the main business then, or the Training Academy kind of feeding into that?
Yes, that's now the main business. And the Training Academy has formed on the back of that now, because everybody knows that within the health and social care sector, training and skills and knowledge within this particular sector is very, very, it's a huge part of legislation. It's a huge part of what we need to do within the service. Yeah.
And was it because you were, struggling with the quality of the candidates that are coming up that you said, right, actually I need to take all this myself and build my own system?
Yeah.
Or was it you saw a market and so actually I can train people for other people as well?
It's a bit of both, actually. What I wanted to do was improve the quality of our service. And the only way you can do that is to really embrace your staff and give them, constant development, knowledge, upskilling all the time. So even I've gone on quite a lot of courses to be able to do a lot of the train the trainer type stuff. I've got a fantastic woman that works with me just now, so she designs a lot of our training. She's a learning development manager from the health and social care sector. And I think the biggest thing is the passion. We're very passionate about showing people how to do things right, and helping them to get it right. Because sometimes I think training's just a kind of, we do this and you do that and you do that and you do that and it's sign there, say you've done it, off you go. Yeah. That's not what we want to do. We really want people to embrace it. And if anything, moving and handling is my hot topic. Okay. I love everything to do with moving and handling and how we can support people better in their homes, because I think a lot of people forget that when people are at home and they are towards the end of their life, many of them have the same equipment as they would find in a care home or in a hospital. Yeah. So we're dealing with profile beds, we're dealing with, air mattresses, hoists, stand aids, lots of equipment that you absolutely need to be trained extremely well in to make sure that you're not harming anybody whilst you're moving them.
I suppose it's harm to them as well. Do you know, if
Absolutely.
an employee gets harmed and they're off work for
Absolutely.
a week, that impacts your business.
Yes.
So the better you can train them, the less sick days,
Exactly.
the easier it is for you to manage as well.
And is there more? Is your attention better as
100%. We, I'm very proud actually of our sickness record. First of all, we have a less than 1% sickness record, which we've now maintained probably for the past 6 months.
Wow.
Which is kind of unheard of in the care sector. Our retention rate is better than most. Retention is always going to be a challenge in any sector, I think. But it's definitely better than most organisations. And I think as well, the way we work with our staff, so the model that we have, all of our managers are actually out delivering care. So as I always say to people, you know, our clients are not sitting on a computer in the office. They're actually out there in the community. And so much so that there's times when I go out and I meet with the clients and they enjoy that because it makes them feel important. It makes them feel valued as well. And we get a wee chat with them, and they enjoy that community interaction, you know, not just with the care staff, but also with the middle management team and also the senior management team as well. So that model definitely helps the fact that we've got care staff that are not saying, oh, it's okay for you to sit in your office and do nothing. Our managers, probably 75% of the day or the week, are out doing care.
So part of the team, there's
Absolutely.
that fairness, transparency kind of element. Everyone's...
Of course. And it also means that staff are not frightened, you know. So sometimes I'll text them saying, I'll pick you up tonight. You know, it's me and you tonight that are on back shift. And they go, oh, that's great, Dawn. And I'll say, I'll treat you to a cake or treat you to McDonald's. And so we have that really... like I say, the community spirit we have within the business is very clear, and staff are then not nervous to say, oh God, I'm going to be Dawn tonight, or I'm going to be Liz tonight.
Don't want to speak to management.
I don't want to speak to management. How can I tell them this?
And is that something like the culture, something that you specifically set out, or is it a byproduct of the training and it's just something you've kind of decided to really harness?
I think it's a byproduct of who I am. I have always recognised that in any business, communication is key. So I always say to the staff, if there's something wrong, tell me about it, because I can't fix what I don't know. And those opportunities when you're out with staff give them the opportunity to talk freely to you about
what's going on at home.
What's going on, what's happening in their life, what's happening with the runs, what's just everything. So all of our managers know our staff all very, very well. And I think that again helps to solidify our culture, our ethos. We do lots of other bits and pieces within the service as well. So going back to the kind of training side, we now measure compassion, which is a big piece within health and social care. And people love it. The clients like it as well. So we're formulating lots of new areas, again, courtesy of the Training Academy, to help staff to evolve and move on. Because if they do leave our organisation and go into another job or a management role, then hopefully they're going to take all of that really good practice with them.
Yeah. And you mentioned there about dealing with people who are approaching end of life. How do you deal with the care side of things and the emotions? Because you must get really attached to people, seeing them so often. How do you manage that?
It's difficult. It is very, very hard. It's probably particularly hard for our younger staff members as well, because they are experiencing this sometimes for the first, or they've not done it for very long. I think the hardest part is for any care company, and particularly for me and for us, is the second that person passes away, we then have nothing to do with that family again. Because the family thoroughly enjoy us going in. We have, it's a different conversation with them. They enjoy the support. They enjoy the kind of break in the monotony of that those times right at the very end. The flowers that we get, the gifts that we get, the mentions that we get, even at funerals is incredible. And that's a part that, again, nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that piece. And so last Christmas, when we do Christmas cards, we always send Christmas cards out to the people that, the families of the people that have passed away.
Yeah.
And we always in the office are talking about, do you remember this lady? Or do you remember? Oh, I know, she was great. So we still talk about them, but it is hard. It's not easy. It's not easy. It is part of the job, unfortunately. But something that I've always said, I said, this is really awful. The minute they pass away, we don't have any right to go back to that family again. Yeah. So sometimes I'll pop in and see how they are.
Yeah, because you're human after all, aren't
you? Of course.
You build that relationship.
Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges you face at the moment?
Biggest challenge at the moment is, for me, the changes in taxation. We have changed quite a lot of our model to hopefully get through this next year. I've got a fantastic accountant. We sit down, we go through the numbers very, very closely, and we have to do that. Okay. We are always growing, but at the moment we're just holding off to see what it looks like, and then we'll start to grow again. So we're just pressing pause for a couple of months to see how this next couple of months look like. But we're a very good company for planning. We're always planning for, plan for the worst, prepare for
the best.
Yes, hope for the best. So that's our biggest challenge at the moment. Understanding, I think, or for the government to understand exactly, what the effects are on small businesses. Yep.
And how's that changing, the kind of way you're attracting new business in? Is it, do people come to you direct from the public
sector?
They do.
Or there is definitely a shift within the market, and we are now seeing a huge increase in private clients coming to us looking for private care.
Okay. And
that's something that we will be looking at. That's an area of development for us. An area that we didn't probably look at before. We'd thought about it. It was never probably needed. But now we are, I've got people on the phone, please help me, I don't know where to turn to. So again, going back to what you said earlier on, being human, it might not be my job to tell people what to do, but we're finding ourselves in that kind of advisory position now, helping them navigate through.
Is that because it's so hard for them to be able to find care or find out what to do, or is it because the public funding is not available for them to get?
I think it's both. Yes, it's both. The public funding has definitely been cut.
Yeah.
So there's many clients out there who are maybe not getting the level of care that they should be getting.
Yeah.
They're maybe just getting a small part, and we're topping that up with private additional visits, on a private capacity.
Yep.
Or we've got people who are just phoning up saying, this is taking far too long, can I just pay for this? Until we get through the council planning stages, if you like, because it's a long process.
How long does it take?
Oh, gosh, how long's a piece of string? Sometimes it can be a few weeks, other times it's months.
Okay. It varies by council as well, doesn't it?
Yes, varies by council, yes. Yeah. And that's a challenge. Sometimes I talk to a council and I go, oh gosh, no, that's the wrong one I'm speaking to. They don't do it that way, they do it this way. So that's probably a challenge as well.
Yeah. And what's the scariest part being in business so far?
The most scariest, I've got two scary parts. Right at the very, very start, when I started on my own, I remember it was coming up to Easter weekend, and I had completely mismatched the timings of money coming in and having to pay wages, and I think I managed to scrape by with 19 pence. And no book will ever teach you that. No. So cash flow has been a massive learning curve for me in business, which I'm on top of all the time. Mm-hmm. But more recently, from a service point of view, we had a very, very scary situation 6 months ago where I always check in with all my staff at the weekends, and I just happened to phone the registered manager and I said, how's things today? She says, all good. She says, no issues, no challenges, everything's smooth. I said, that's good. And within 10 minutes, she phoned me back and she explained that there had been an explosion in a house, and our care staff were in the street where the explosion had happened. Now, very, very quickly, you're sort of saying, are they okay? Where are they?
Yeah.
So she said, no, they're both okay. They phoned me to tell me they're okay. And I said, right, that's fine. And then I got another phone call to say they're in the house. They're actually in the house that had exploded. Now, because I found out that there was contact, I was kind of starting to think, right, so in your head, you're starting to build up an idea of a vision of what's going on. So essentially what's happened was 2 of our carers had gone into a client's house, and within minutes, the entire roof blew off, the walls blew out, and it just all came down on top of them. So the call I then got was that the ambulance were there, blue lights everywhere, and they're now being hoisted out of the building with ladders and all the rest of it. And I just immediately said, right, I will make myself available. I'll just head right up to the hospital right now and meet them there. Mm-hmm. So we're phoning, where are they? Are they coming? Shall I go out and get them? Like, oh, what do we do? So I stood outside the entrance of A&E, and I seen ambulances coming in, taking people in for other scenarios. And then I seen this girl walking in towards me, covered in soot. Horrific. Trousers all ripped with the explosion. And I kind of looked and I thought, no, that's not her. That's somebody else. And it was our Kerry. And then I just within seconds, I just grabbed her and held her, and she was in a terrible state, and again with our colleague Jamie. So they were there.
Training's not going to compare you.
No, it doesn't.
You for that.
Doesn't prepare you for that. So that was very, very frightening. And then of course you've got CID up there, and we're all getting questioned. What's happened? What were you doing in the house? And then you're starting to look at RIDOR. You're starting to look at all the health and safety situation. Thankfully, they were released about 8-10 hours later. We have private healthcare as well, thankfully. Yep. So it meant that if they wanted to go through trauma support, they could have access to all of that, which they have been doing as well. So of course the support that we give them as well, allowing them to take as much time off as they need. Mm-hmm. So that was scary, because had they not been safe, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know how I'd have coped with that. Mm-hmm. So being a business owner and being responsible for people, even although that's nothing you could have controlled, was probably that was a very, very
everyone
scary
thinks
part.
Business owners is just numbers, and it's like they're just part of the the asset value of the business is the staff, but actually they're part of your team. They feel, you say you feel responsible for them, and it's that compassion element as well.
Absolutely, we're close to our staff. I'm particularly close to one of the girls. I knew her before she came to work for me, so I've known her, in a past life. Yeah. So that was scary, and there's nobody there that comes along and said, right, we'll help you. No. Yeah. Here's support for you, Dawn, and here's support for the rest of the business. You just have to do the best you can with what you've got. Yeah.
I guess you're then scrambling about trying to find people to cover their shifts as well.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want care to drop for the people that you're signed up to look after.
The service still has to continue. Yeah. And that was the other part of the phone calls that were taking place that day. You've got staff off and you're phoning them to say, like, there's been an incident. Yeah. And then it's all over social media. So you're trying to contain all of that. And then you've got other people phoning going, Dawn, did you know? Have you heard? Yeah, I'm up at the hospital. I'm here. So that was frightening.
And what was the cause of the explosion?
Actually, it was a neighbour who had committed suicide, unfortunately. God. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Unfortunately, beyond that, what also happened was the person that we were looking after, we continued his care for 2 weeks, and he then passed away as well.
As a result of the accident?
I think so, yes. Mm-hmm. I think just the shock, because of his condition, I think the shock got to him, yeah.
And you mentioned there, about being top of the tree. Where do you get your support from? Because who supports Dawn, I think you said?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm very lucky. I've got some very good friends. There's one friend of mine, we tender together. Her name's Grace. And she was formerly my previous director. She was a director of a company I worked in many years ago. And we just hit it off. So when I started my business, I always said to her, do you fancy helping me? She said, I'd love to. So I go down to her house, and we spend 2 or 3 days just tendering and drinking wine, which helps.
You need to drink wine for tenders, I think, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think just my family, my mum and my aunt and uncles are very supportive of me.
Yeah.
So, but one of the things I think helps is not talking about work all the time when you go home. That's something I don't do. I've not done for a long, long time, because I do think sometimes when you're in the midst of building businesses, dealing with lots of staff, if you keep talking about it when you go home, you don't ever break from it.
Yeah.
So that's something that it took a lot of self-discipline, a long time ago. Now it's just natural.
And do you find it easy to switch off?
Now I do, yes. I do now. But that's taken a long time to come.
Yeah.
But that's because I've now got a team that know how I think, that know the culture, that know what we're trying to build.
Yeah.
They've been hugely supported and directed, and they now know exactly what's expected of them. And it's also, because of the nature of the work we do, because we run a service from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m, there's always got to be people available, for any eventuality, like an explosion. I think when people have got time off, I make it absolutely clear, look, I am not phoning you unless I really, really need to. Go and enjoy your time off, and please switch off, because burnout is a big thing in a lot of companies and a lot of sectors, but particularly in health and social care. I think burnout is something, again, where providers perhaps overuse the favour within health and social care, whereas we try not to do that. We're very much, no, you're taking your 2 days off. We're not phoning you.
Compassion element. It's
Absolutely.
Like your team can only provide the best care if they're looked after.
Exactly.
Like if they're burnt out, then your end product's not going to be.
And the thing is, if you're burning staff out, that's where you get sickness.
Yeah.
So we offer overtime to staff who want to pick it up, but at the moment it's generally maybe just a wee half shift here or there.
Yeah. Sorry.
On you go.
When you started out, was it like 7 to 9? Were you on call that entire time?
Yeah. Yes,
as you grew the business? At what point did you kind of go, right, I feel comfortable enough to step back and switch off at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, or did it just? In
complete truth, I'd probably say this year. Okay. Just this year, I feel like I am getting my weekends off. I am getting away at maybe 4. I'll go in early, and I'm stepping away from work now that bit earlier. I mean, that's taken in conjunction of starting the healthcare, the home care, the training academy. That's been a 7-year journey to get to this. Early days, absolutely not. I was burnt out constantly, but you don't know it because you're running on adrenaline and anxiety, and you just get on with it.
Yeah. And do you think you've had any luck along the way? Have you had any lucky breaks?
Yes, the very, very first contract I got was a lucky break. I had got an email. I'd applied for. It was a very large care at home company who I knew recruited, from lots and lots of different organisations up and down the country. And I contacted them, and I got a lovely email to say, no, we don't want to take on any more providers. And I was gutted. Like, what do you mean? You don't want me? Seriously? I'm good. And I was on my own in an office, kind of crying into my coffee, thinking, what am I going to do here? And I just thought, right, just pick up the phone and go and speak to the one person that you've worked with before, who was quite high up in the organisation. And out of the blue, she says, don't be ridiculous, Dawn. She says, I'll just send you a contract just now. She says, we'll get you on the books. And I was like, oh my God, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. That contract was the catalyst for the rest of the business growing. And it did help me just have that confidence to go, right, okay, I've got one under my belt, and then carry on from there.
Did it change how you approached? Do you think sometimes picking up the phone's an underrated?
Yes.
Do you almost said cold calling?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work, but actually, if you know who you're speaking to, or you get the timing right, it can be.
You make an appointment, you put it in the diary, you don't phone and say, we're still on for tomorrow, because then they cancel. I'm always a pick up the phone type of person, or knock on the door. Once you get to speak to somebody face to face, then usually you're halfway there, aren't you?
Yeah.
But it's getting to the gatekeepers that's the hard part. I still believe that that's the way it should be done.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it ties back to what you said right at the start about communication is key.
Absolutely.
You know, not just with the team, but without. And I think, you know, in emails, it's easy just to ignore something, or easy for tone to get read as well. If there's an issue, whereas picking up the phone to try and resolve something is so much.
People are busy as well. I always put myself in the shoes, because people contact me as well, and it's an email, and I go, I've not got time for that. I'm not got time, and I just delete it. It's gone before I've even finished reading the email. So they're going to do the same if I do the same to them. Yeah. So you have to go around it differently. You have to pick up the phone, and knock on the door or pop in. And then, thanks for meeting me, then send the email. I think we've got it the wrong way around. But that worked for me, yeah.
But it's shifting a bit now, isn't it? Because of the reputation you've built and because of the quality and standards you've got. And people know you. There's some people starting to come to you now more than
They
before.
are, yes. We are getting so many more calls each week saying, you know, I think the branding as well of our organisation is very clear. All of our staff, again, I've got very high standards when it comes to, you know, image. So when the staff are out, they are in full scrubs, trousers, top, branded jackets, branded hoodies, even woolly hats in the winter time. They're not allowed to wear anything else other than the branded workwear. In fact, many clients when we first started said, oh my goodness, you know, your staff are really smart. Yeah. Because that's what they want, you know. I believe that's what they want. So the brand, the image, the cars are all branded as well. And then obviously if anybody does go on to look at our grading, we've now got a grade 5, which is not easy to get. Massively proud of our team achieving that, and we'll keep going to maintain that excellence.
Setting those standards of excellence, you know, it's a small thing like a uniform, but it's something really visual that people can see.
Yes.
And then it flows. They go, well, you know, if someone turns up and they're looking scruffy, looking shabby, it's like, oh, how much are they going to look after my mum or my dad? Whereas if they turn up, they're professional.
Absolutely.
Is that impact of?
Absolutely. I think one of the things, this is quite an interesting psychological situation that I've noticed, you know, doing care. When you get a care package, your job is to go in and to look after that individual, you know, whether it be personal care or whether it be medication administration. So when you're making somebody a wee cup of tea, right, we always clean up the work surfaces. And at the end of the night, we will always take the bucket out from the bin, you know, in the kitchen, and put it out at the end of the night. Because I know if it was me and I was going to visit my mum and there was carers going in, and I'd think, oh, for goodness sake, could they not empty the bucket, or could they not put the dishes away? The assumption is then, is my mum actually getting the care that she's deserved or she's meant to be getting? So part and parcel of our job, although it's not actually in the care plan, if you like, we go above and beyond. And we do actually have an above and beyond piece of work that we do within the service as well. So we do those things. And again, families will say, oh my goodness, you know, this is fantastic. I didn't have to do that. And I noticed you changed the bed covers. And so we go above and beyond when we have to, and when we've got the time to do that, because it's just the right thing to do. And I think that's where I believe people get things wrong. If it's the right thing, it's integrity, isn't it? Yeah. It's that old saying.
I think those small things make a big difference as well.
Yeah. Do the right thing when nobody's looking.
How do you instill those standards? Like, obviously you've got the training camp, but you know, on a day-to-day basis, how do you get the team to buy into, right, that we go above and beyond, we do this, we like, because, you know, if they come from somewhere else, do they just go, well, that's not my job, my job's to do this?
Yes, we've had a few people that have come from other companies that say, well, never had to do that before. I say, well, you were doing it here. And the reason we do it here is to, again, always reintroduce the fact, well, what if it was your mum? What if it was your family? And I think because we've got all of our managers out doing that as well, it then becomes normal. So just going above and beyond just becomes everyday normal activity. And that's the difference. You know, it's the same with standards. The minute you drop your standard, that then becomes normal. You know, the minute you don't do something and then keep doing it, that becomes the new standard. So maintaining standards for me is probably one of the biggest challenges all the time within care. Because, you know, my standards are here, and it's their job to meet that standard. It's not my job to come down to that level.
What if someone has an off day and does drop? How do you approach that with them? Because like sometimes those are the difficult conversations that
of course
owners are scared to have, I always find, and that's when you kind of go, I'll accept it, because it's harder to have the conversation, but actually it drops the level overall. That's
a piece of work that we do with a lot of the care staff. We talk about, we talk a lot with managers about having difficult conversations, because again, the more often you have these difficult conversations, the less difficult they become. And it just becomes, again, normal practice. And that's been a big shift in how our managers have managed our care workers. So when things are not getting done wrong, we will then say to them, you know, when we're out the house, listen, next time, this is what we'll expect you to be doing. And it works. It does actually work. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been some staff that we've hired that have been absolutely awful.
Yeah.
And I always say hire slow, fire fast. And we've got much better at that as well.
And I like the fact that you have the feedback in the moment. You don't leave it for a one-to-one or to the end of the month or anything.
No, you have to do it in the moment. And again, that's something that the managers probably used to shy away from.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, deal with it now. Come on, speak to them, go and phone them, go and.
I always liken it to your kids. You don't wait down and sit down with your kids at the end of the year and go, here's your appraisal about how your behaviour's been for the last year.
Exactly.
It's like, and not to say that your staff are kids, but it's like you have to give that constant feedback, because if you don't,
I actually, I think it's absolutely true. I've got 2 children. They've been well managed, shall we say. And I think that is the situation. You do actually have to it's a bit like brushing your teeth. You know, you brush your teeth this morning, you brush your teeth. Yeah. Actually, by the time they get to about 16, you'd think they've got the point. It's the same in work. You've got to keep saying the same thing, because eventually it'll drop and it'll be listened to.
And do you have your standard? Like, do you have actually written down values or standards, or?
Yes, we've got aims, objectives. We've got mission statements. Yeah. We enforce our culture. Again, it's really by design, I suppose. The way that we manage each other, you know, is up and down. The dignity and respect that we give each other within the team is huge. Yeah. That's an area that I'm very, very proud of, because I have always said to my staff, I'll never ever speak down to you. Yeah. I'll be factual, and I might be tough at times, but it's in a supportive fashion. Yeah. And you need to do the same with your staff. And the staff now know as well that if they come with a slightly bad attitude, we go, let's talk about that. We don't speak to you like that, so come on, let's look at a better way of communicating this. Yeah. And so, because we have had a couple of staff who are a wee bit, you know, sort of, yeah. And go, right, come on, have a wee chat with me. What's happening? And when you sit and listen to them, oh, right, okay. Oh, okay, can you fix that? Yeah, of course we can fix that. Just come and tell us.
It's about being fair, isn't it,
Absolutely,
as a manager?
Yeah.
And so, look, the very nature of your work, there has to be some funny stories. And without speaking out of turn or anything, what kind of stories have you had that have raised a laugh in the office? There are a few that I can't mention. Yeah, I know. But are hilarious, and I was involved in quite a few of them. But I think probably one of the funniest times, it was Alan and I. Alan's our trainer, and we had about 3 staff out delivering care, and all getting stuck in the snow. So of course we're out with the shovels, and I mean, just flying about all over the place trying to rescue care staff. Yeah. It was a great day. You're on the back foot the whole day, you know, but as long as you phone your clients and say, look, we will be there, we're just struggling a little bit. But some of the stories, you know, shoving cars, you know, nearly missing walls, lambs, you know, or sheep, I should say, in the road. The stuff that we've endured has been funny, but we have fun every single day. Our culture within the business is really supportive every day, and every day we have really funny stories. Alan is particularly hilarious with some of his anecdotes and jokes that he comes into the office with.
But unfortunately, there's a few that I just can't mention.
I know. I guess you deal with people with dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff. There's strange things happen. I guess
there is.
I've got a close relative who has got dementia. It's about seeing the funny side sometimes to that too, because you can't always see the doom and the gloom,
Absolutely. One of the things I think people forget is that it's not the person, it's the condition.
Yeah.
And it's the condition. And if that person were to take themselves out of that body at that point, they'd be looking and going, oh my goodness, did I do that?
Yeah.
Did I say that? Inappropriate conversations, happen all the time. And again, it's back to how we train the staff to be able to cope with those moments. Because it can be quite difficult at times.
Especially if you're new, as you said, if you're experienced and you've seen it before, it's maybe not good, but if it's new to you, then it's that training and that underlying and having that support to be able to deal with it is huge.
Yes, absolutely. I've got so many stories in my head. I'm trying to actually think if there's any I can give you, but with dementia in particular, and it's becoming worse.
Yeah.
We're getting more and more people who are younger now with dementia, and it's a sad situation to be in. But the training that is there for staff is incredible. It's very good, very informative.
And what's your plans on what's next? I know you're taking a pause in terms of seeing how the land lies in the next couple of months. Have you got ambitions to grow the training academy? Or
yes, we do, absolutely. The training academy is our next focus. Because I again, just going back to what I said to you before, if you don't have good staff, how can you deliver good care? And all the great stuff that we're doing, in terms of even personal boundaries and professional boundaries. I delivered some courses on that in the last few weeks, not necessarily within the health and social care sector, but very much within our own personal lives. It's about how we approach people, how we interact with people, how we talk to people, So we do a lot of that. So I think getting people to come into this sector to understand the sheer and vast range of knowledge and experience that you have to do this job. So part of that is obviously going to be through the training academy and creating this centre for excellence in all the different areas, whether it's moving and handling, whether it's medication, because there's so many elements within care. So that's the big one.
Do you find it bringing people in, like attracting people to the industry? Is it quite hard to get people in, or?
Again, I think we are probably one of the few companies that can attract staff.
Yeah.
So I don't have massive problems about attracting it into my company.
Yeah.
As a single entity, but I do believe that within the wider world of health and social care, I do think that a lot of people are maybe at the moment stepping away from it because it's always in the news for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So my job is to advocate the good side of it, the bits that are fantastic.
Yeah.
So many good things that you're doing, and I hope it continues to be a success for you. So we always finish up by asking, what's your guiding principle in business?
Don't drop your standards. Always plan and communicate. So that's my 3 areas. I think communication is so key to everybody. I see so many organisations out there who communicate maybe to the first top line, and it doesn't filter down into the business. I think as in my service, we're very good at communicating up and down and sideways. So communication is fundamental. Planning, particularly in the world that I'm in, will absolutely see you through everything. If you do not plan, I mean, we've got our entire year planned out in terms of rotas, in terms of schedules. Everybody knows what they're doing, right up to the end of the year. And that has been a process that we wanted to get to because, again, running a service and only planning for the next day or the next day, that's just chaotic. No. And I don't work on chaos.
No.
So plan, communicate, and don't ever drop your standards.
Brilliant, Dawn. Thank you very much for joining us
today.
Thank you.
Thank you.